one of the things that, with my dad doing this EFT, you know, I find that to be a prevention for me, because I'm able to, at times when I'm dealing with anxiety, I'm able to work on my energy system. And that's one thing we're going to come into in a little bit. But, you know, the whole prevention aspect, if we can do things to be proactive, I think it's going to help us. And I think Mark and I were talking about this a few weeks ago in his office. You know, the more proactive we are, you know, the more we can help our bodies, the more we can help our whole healthcare system, and the more we can help our culture. So let's just talk briefly about some of this, and we touched upon some of these, so we won't need to go too far. Does anybody want to start? Mark?
Sure. Yeah, can you guys hear me? Okay. To kind of expand on that or go with that, you know, when people come in to the office, again, we talked about, you know, you can have a major or minor trauma, ergonomics, things of that nature that can affect your structure. When Ken comes in, and when I work with Ken and different patients, the whole idea is structure affects function. So if structure is off, function's off, and you can have a structural issue that's caused by many different things, staying on top of things in between visits, because Ken was talking about, you know, and everybody else was talking about movement and exercise. So doing some very specific things like core, staying on top of your core, very simple, doing things like a bridge. You can go online and find most of these things, or you can go to our website and get further information. Core exercises would help to balance out your pelvis and your lumbar spine area, where a lot of imbalance can occur. Doing things like chin tuck. Chin tuck is a very simple strengthening exercise, because oftentimes everybody's hunched forward. So getting the muscles on the backside of your neck and your upper back strong and stretching everything out on the front side makes a huge difference. You're able, believe it or not, to take in a deep breath much better when you're not hunched forward. Hunching forward, it's a lot harder to breathe. So just opening just up your chest cavity by doing simple stretches and strengthening. You don't even have to go to the chiropractor to do that, or anybody for that matter. You can do that at home. It doesn't require any equipment. It's very simple, and it doesn't require any skill. I have patients that are in wheelchairs. They can do chin tuck. You know, the bridge and the plank. There's different levels of being able to do bridging and planking, and for different amounts of time. But those are very simple and very beneficial.
Where I met Ryan at a yoga studio, and I've been practicing, and that's one thing I was going to put on the video. I'm sure it's been a little awkward. I'm not the greatest at yoga, but I think body and mind, that is the ultimate as far as just tying things together. Ryan, can you talk a little bit? You know, you practice, you teach. Just tell us a little bit about that.
Just show of hands, people in the room that actually have done yoga before. All right, so a fair amount. So I teach yoga, and one of the things, and meditation, one of the things that I find is the greatest part of yoga, and that's Shavasana. Shavasana is the part at the very, very end where you lay down and you pretend to be dead. Right? It's literally called corpse pose. So there's this moment that happens. You start yoga, you're, I don't want to be here, I don't know, okay, but I'm trying to get centered, I'm trying to get zen, you know, I'm in my moment. And so you start yoga, you start moving, the body starts moving, and then all of a sudden you're in your body. You're present, you're moving, you're breathing, and your worries and your to-do list, they go away, and you're just moving. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, the class is over, and your yoga instructor says, all right, lay down on your back, close your eyes, Shavasana. At about 1 minute after that happens, this thing happens, and it's a very unique experience, and it goes something like this. That was a good yoga class. That was really good. Okay, so now I need to, what am I doing after this? Okay, I've got to pick up the groceries, I've got to go take the dog, blah, 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 blah. And the mind, that mind, the monkey mind, keeps going so fast, and it comes back so quickly. And why I love that part of yoga is that it shows you the contrast. It shows you the contrast between being present and being literally ruled and dominated by your mind. And so there's been some great research about adults and our minds and how we work, and roughly about 50% of the time during the day, if I gave you a question and a Palm Pilot and I sampled you throughout the day and said, what are you doing right now? About 50% of the time, our minds are actually wandering. Now, the funny thing about that is that when your mind is wandering, you're often thinking about worries, anxieties, things about the future or the past. And so the saying is that a wandering mind is an unhappy mind. And about half the time, we're spending our time, our mental energy in that space. And as we know from this discussion, is it really does lead to illness.
One more comment on this topic, and then we'll move forward. Anybody, or we've covered it?
I'd like to say something.
Okay, go ahead.
Rather than pushing the thoughts out or trying to not think like the white bear, observing your thoughts and labeling your thoughts can be helpful for a lot of people, just to label, is that a new thought or a repeat thought? Useful, useless. I kind of like new and repeat because repeats usually are useless, but then we have less judgment about them. That's all.
Yeah, and one exercise that might be helpful is, I don't know if this is on, is start observing your thoughts and then pretend that that person that's chattering is actually another person just sitting beside you. And what you'll see is that that person argues with himself or herself all the time. It's, I think we should go to the movies tonight. Oh, no, if we go to the movies tonight, there'll be a lot of people, and I'll have to eat popcorn, and then I'll be, bloated. So, I mean, that voice, right, is happening all the time. And here's the most important thing. That voice is not you. And the hardest part about that is that you will have some thoughts that you clearly say, oh, that's me, that's my thought. But then, ironically, you'll have another thought that isn't you, that's mean, or says, your thighs look too big in those pants, or whatever. And so, so the important thing to know is that your thoughts are not you. And it really helps if you just watch and see your thoughts as somebody else. Go ahead and give them an outfit, give them a name, and just let them talk. And the trick is, don't turn the thoughts off. Just turn the volume down.
And also, observing your thoughts almost as if you're an outsider looking in is something I do. And I wanted to say, too, that has anyone ever told you to relax and you want to flip them off? Because it's a command, and commands create tension. So instead of telling yourself, relax, if you like the word relax, relaxing. It's a process, and relaxing is a process. If you like the words let it go, instead of saying let it go, think letting go.
Brad's setting up. Yeah, go ahead, Phyllis.
Is this, okay. One of the things we haven't mentioned that I think bears some consideration. In metaphysical thinking, we talk about mental equivalence. So when the body is speaking to us, depending on what the body is saying, we can tell what our mind is doing. So for instance, if you're having a stiff neck, having trouble with your neck, very often you can pretty well guess that there's a lot of opinionating going on. If you have a lot of low back trouble, you can pretty well guess that there's some money issues or some financial concerns or stuff like that going on. And if you start asking yourself and just think, oh no, I don't have any. See, I did this to myself recently. And I realized that it wasn't about financial so much as it was about handling legal stuff that had to do with, money underlying that. So, and I'd been having some low back issues. There's all kinds of, and Louise Hay wrote a book called Heal Your Body. She wasn't the first one to do that. Dr. Frederick Keeler did that many years before that. And he called it the law of correspondences. So if you learn the language that the body is speaking back to us, we kind of know where to go with what has to be changed, rather than just kind of guessing. So I think it's important to consider that possibility too, that mental equivalence, the body is speaking a language specifically telling us what needs to be altered and changed.
Thank you.